Hello friends, this is Hedda. Today I am reviewing a very special notebook from Macy Lane Co. These notebooks were first launched in July 2020 and honestly they've kind of taken the community by storm. I was gifted this notebook by Macy Lane Co, but all opinions expressed in this video are entirely my own and Macy Lane Co has had no influence on the creation of this video. I was sent this notebook back in September, I think, when there were only 4 color designs available. But since then, they have expanded the collection to 8 colors, and I think they have a lot of exciting products in store for the future. They also have these beautiful washi tapes and also stickers that I've been lucky enough to try as well. In this video, I'll do a little product description going through each part of the notebook, and I'll also do a pen test to see how the paper holds up to different media. Lastly, I'll talk a bit about who this notebook might suit the best. First, let's go through the basics of this notebook. It has 192 pages and the pages are unnumbered. The cover is made from faux leather. The paper is 160 GSM and it's semi-coated. The pages have a 5mm dot grid design, which is pretty standard. When these first came out, they were advertised as being 4mm dot grid, so I don't know if it changed or if that was just a mistake. The notebooks are only available in one size, which is A5. They have lay flat binding, and what that means is that the spine isn't glued. And I was trying to find a notebook that didn't have lay flat binding, but turns out I don't own any of those. So I got out this little Sumikko Gurashi comic book, and this one, as you can see, has a glued spine, so when you open it, you can't really open it to lay flat, so you'd have to crack the spine. But yeah, that's basically the difference between the lay flat binding and glued binding. There are 2 page markers made from satin. There's a pocket in the back, and there's a gold foil icon on the spine, which I think is a really nice touch. You get a free ruler with every notebook purchase, and it's just a simple transparent ruler. It has both centimeters and inches, so that's pretty convenient. And probably the most unique thing about these notebooks is that you can personalize them. You can get any text on the front and or back of the notebook, and you can choose different colors and different fonts. As you can see, I chose to have my name on the front cover in this really pretty cursive font. The notebooks cost $24 American, with personalization costing an additional $5. Personally, I think this is a decent price for a notebook. It is a really high quality notebook as far as I can tell, and you get a lot of paper for this price considering it has 192 pages. And now let's talk about shipping. Shipping varies depending on where you live, like usual. Macy Lane Co. is located in the US and domestic shipping is $6.99 with free shipping over $35. Shipping to Canada is $12 and other international shipping is $15. I think that's quite expensive, but then again, that's not the fault of Macy Lane Co. as they don't decide the shipping prices. I picked out a selection of pens and markers and paint that I own so that we can test how the paper fares. The first thing I wanted to test is my fountain pen. Macy Lane Co. claims that you should have no issues with fountain pens, so I wanted to test it myself. It didn't feather, so that's great, and it was really smooth to write with it on the semi-coated paper, so I'm very happy with that. I also tried some highlighters, specifically Zebra Mileliners and Iconic 2-way pens. I went over with it twice and there was no ghosting, so that's great. Then I'm testing a selection of water-based brush pens, and these are the Tombow Fudenosuke and Copic Gazen Fude, Tombow Dual Brush Pen, Crayola Super Tips, and Sakura Koi brush pens. I tested these in both 1 and 2 layers, and The color glided on really nicely on the paper. There is no ghosting from these either, as is expected from 160 GSM paper. A type of markers I've been really into this year is paint markers. So I tested both my Posca paint markers and my Archer and Olive acrylograph pens. And they feel pretty similar on the paper. There was a tiny bit of pilling, but not any more than any other notebooks that I've tried these in. So it's not really that surprising. I made a little section for other pens where I'm just testing some fine liners, ballpoint pens, and gel pens just to see how they look. This one's pretty straightforward. I wasn't expecting any ghosting, and there wasn't any either, so it's all good. And then I had to do the stupid thing that everyone does even though they know that it's not going to work, and that is using alcohol-based markers in notebooks meant for bullet journaling. I knew this wasn't going to go well, and I still did it because it's kind of become the standard at this point. But guys, we all know alcohol-based markers will bleed through your journal pages. Always. And then it was time for watercolors. I could test gouache too, but honestly, depending on how well the paper handles watercolors, you kind of know how it will react to gouache. So I tested with different amounts of water to get a grasp of how well it holds it. I used both my Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolors and my Vivia color sheets. I'd say I used a decent amount of water. The end result is not that surprising. The paper holds the paint quite well when there's less water and warps a bit when adding more water. The paint actually bled through a tiny bit in one place as well. I'd say with this notebook you can definitely use watercolors to color, but I wouldn't use it for traditional watercolor painting, meaning like wet on wet techniques and stuff. That's not going to work very well. Let's talk a little bit about environmental responsibility. I don't know that much about the production of these notebooks other than they wanted to use faux leather rather than real leather, both because of the environmental impact and the ethical issues. And other than that, most of their public info on sustainable business is about their packaging, where the intention is that it should all be recyclable and or biodegradable. So that's great. But I really wish companies would release more info on the actual production. I think it's super important to be transparent about these things. And the only thing that we know about the production place is that these notebooks are produced in China, which I'd also say is pretty common. Overall, I think that this is a beautiful notebook, and I really love that you can get the cover customized. I have to put a disclaimer out there that I do have an affiliate agreement with Macy Lane Co., and that means that I earn a small commission for every purchase made using my discount code. So I'm just putting this out there. I do acknowledge that I'm probably a little bit biased, but then again, I wouldn't be saying nice things about this notebook if it wasn't true and my honest opinion. I think that this notebook can work for a lot of different people. The fact that fountain pen ink doesn't feather is a huge plus for those who swear to fountain pens. And the thick paper means that you can throw a lot of color on this paper without worrying about ghosting and bleeding. My favorite thing about this notebook is that the cover can be customized and that it has 192 pages. And then I'd say my least favorite thing is that the cover is quite soft and it can easily get dented, I think. And I think that's it for this review. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you clicked the thumbs up and subscribe buttons, as it really helps my channel grow. If you have questions about the Macy Lane Co. notebook, you can write them in the comments and I'll answer as best as I can. Obviously, I don't know everything, but I'll do my best. And let me know if you have tried the Macy Lane Co. notebooks yourself, because I would love to hear your opinion too. I hope that you're having a lovely day, and I'll see you next time.